Hi, and welcome to Voices of Agriculture. I'm Reggie Hall, your host for the next 30 minutes. I'm with the South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. Of course, we'll be coming to you this half hour from South Carolina. During the course of the show, we'll help celebrate June Dairy Month and tell you about a unique contraption in South Carolina called the Vend-a-Moo. But first, we want to talk about a precious commodity in agriculture. With oil reaching over $100 a barrel now, there's a commodity that might be just as precious or more, especially if it becomes depleted. We're talking, of course, of water. Behind me is the beautiful Lake Jocassee in South Carolina. It's a hydroelectric lake, man-made, to provide energy to the greater part of upper South Carolina and lower North Carolina. But that lake may soon become very valuable as a price is placed on water for South Carolina farmers. Water, the lifeblood to every living thing on earth. Animals, plants, humans look to this essential resource for nourishment, food, and sustenance. Water is everywhere, and for the most part, it's something most of us take for granted. For the home or garden irrigation, recreation, as a power source, or even for something as routine as tap water.
Water is probably the most valuable commodity that we have, and it's probably funny to hear me say commodity, but it truly is.
Hey girls, how are we doing?
Rick Dorn, owner and operator of Bush River Jersey's Dairy in central South Carolina, wants people to understand just how valuable and unique water is to the industry of agriculture.
We're different than any other industry. We use the example a lot that I can't turn off the lights on Friday afternoon and go home and come back Monday and turn them on and things are okay. If we're in a situation where we don't have water, the animals or the crop that we're growing to feed the animals will just simply die.
Agriculture's got to be treated a little bit different because we're a little bit more unique. Our inputs are very perishable, and if I go without water for 4 days, then I've lost everything I've put in that crop.
Farmers across the nation face the stark reality of changing weather patterns, recent droughts, and diminishing water supplies and competition for the resource. Charles Wingard of W.P. Rawl & Sons Farm sees firsthand how farmers and producers need to be more proactive in conservation of water and in the implementation and acceptance of water rights.
Water is a finite resource. It is a precious resource. This country right now is hurting over oil, but we can get by with a lot less oil. If I had to, I could ride a bicycle a little bit or I could walk a little further, but I don't know any way that this country is going to survive if we do not take the steps necessary now to protect this resource. We need to really be careful and maximize the efficiency of our use. I think that this state, because we're on the coast, once we turn it loose at Myrtle Beach, it's gone. We won't get it back. So I think from the mountains of South Carolina to the coast of South Carolina, we need to make that water work as much as we can.
Dorn couldn't agree more, and in fact, he already recycles the water used on his dairy to get the most from this precious resource.
We're trying to be proactive instead of reactive. I know that may be a bit of a cliche, but I think it's exactly what's happening here. We want to make sure that we know exactly what the water usage is so that we can make an educated decision as to whether or not our water source can support industry above us. We also use a very intense waste management plan here where we take the water out of our lagoon, which has actually been used 4 times here. It comes out of the well, we cool the milk with it, it goes to a vat, it's used to wash the cows with, it then washes the floors where the cows were, then it goes into the lagoon and we pump it on the crop. So when we do have to get water from somewhere, whether from the ground or from the surface, we try to utilize it as best as possible because it is expensive.
Livestock operators and row crop farmers across the state receive help and support from state water regulators to develop plans for efficient water use.
When we do issue permits, for example, on the groundwater permits, we try to make sure that what they're doing is the best management practices that are in accordance for the day, and we work with the permittees, and we really do try to help, especially the farming community, get the best bang for their buck because water is very expensive for them to apply. It's like I said, it's a finite resource, so we all need to use it reasonably.
The people in South Carolina are thinking way ahead. We're trying to plan way ahead, and so a lot of times we are accused of being so far behind things. Well, this is one thing where we are way ahead. We're looking way down the road to try to plan and protect the state, protect its environment, and protect the people and all their interests, business, industry, recreation, agriculture, the environment, everything.
That was South Carolina's Chief Legal Officer, Attorney General Henry McMaster, who's in a position many Westerners have been in for decades, fighting for water rights.
They're fighting over the water, been fighting out west for years. They started crossing these bridges way back, and their law is a little bit different out there. The law is developed out there to where whoever got there first and started using the water has a right that is somewhat superior to those who came later. In our state, it doesn't matter when you got there. Each state has, as a sovereign, has an equal right to the water, although maybe not in exact amounts, but they have an equal right to have whatever water the river can provide. The rivers are the lifeblood of people, of everything we do, business, industry, recreation, agriculture, all parts of the environment, wildlife, everything. And if we're not real careful about it, we're going to have some problems. And what's starting to happen now is that people are coming from all over the country to the south. We have a great climate. We have the oceans out there. We have rivers. We have mountains. And we have a lot of things that people want that they don't have in other states. And they're coming here. We are developing. We're growing faster than other parts of the country, and that's putting a lot of pressure on our water resources.
But it doesn't just stop with awareness. Water rights has also become a legal issue, leading to a 21st century war between the states. In October of 2007, McMaster filed a suit in the U.S. Supreme Court against neighboring North Carolina. The state of South Carolina v. the state of North Carolina, better known as water wars. The lawsuit claims that North Carolina is drawing more than its fair share of water from an interstate river, leaving users downstream in South Carolina with inadequate water supplies.
We asked them to take the case in their original jurisdiction, to appoint a special judge to hear all the evidence, to gather the evidence through the discovery process, to hear the experts on water and resources and hydrology and geography and population growth and industry and all those kind of things, to project the growth of North Carolina as compared to South Carolina and decide what the appropriate way is to apportion and protect the water of the river.
Recognizing how vital the issue of water use and availability are, in a rare and historic move, the High Court granted South Carolina's request to hear the case before it was tried in any lower court. Typically only hearing last resort appeals, this is only the 138th time in the Supreme Court's history when the High Court has served as the original trial court. And while the courts sort through the interstate use and access to water resources, South Carolina's regulators continue to search for new ways to protect and conserve water. David Bays, Assistant Bureau of Water Chief, says the burden of increasing development in South Carolina is outpacing the annual average rainfall in the state.
We really need to look out into the future a little bit and try to get ahead of what we know will be increasing competition for a finite resource. And so, the farming community is a large part of that because they do need water when it is most dry.
Without adequate water to sustain crops and livestock, devastation is certain.
It would be a catastrophe unlike anything we've seen before. It'd be as bad as bombs dropping, probably.
Bombs that could make everyone fully recognize the grand significance of our precious and limited water resources.
We all belong to each other. We're all interrelated. And as people have been saying about environmental questions for decades, you don't want to upset the balance. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
States in general have responsibility to work with each other. South Carolina is a downhill state to North Carolina. And if North Carolina wanted to hog up the water, they could really hog the water up and cause South Carolina a lot of pain.
Since the 1930s, Americans have been celebrating June Dairy Month. Here in South Carolina, we produce dairy and consume a great bit of it too, with milk and cheese, ice cream, and other dairy products. There's one unique way we sell dairy here in South Carolina. It's a product called the Vend-a-Moo. Let's go to a farm right now and find out all about that unique invention. Since 1937, June has been known by milk lovers as National Dairy Month. It's a time to recognize the contributions dairies make to our overall nutritional health. Promotional events each June help remind consumers that dairy products deserve a spot in their food budget. And while the average person may think of Wisconsin or New York when it comes to dairy production, the truth is South Carolina dairies produce a little more than $46 million worth of milk and other dairy products from cows each year. In fact, although small in production, the South Carolina dairy industry is recognized nationally because of its efficiency, quality, and amount of milk produced here despite extreme weather conditions and environmental challenges faced by dairymen. Since the time of the first national dairy promotions, the dairy industry, along with the rest of agriculture, has gone through tremendous transitions. It has changed from one of local supply and demand to national and now global markets. Another change has come about in the way milk is packaged and marketed. One unique marketing tool is in place at the Bush River Farms, owned and operated by Rick Doran in Newberry County, South Carolina. Rick and Harvey Peeler, another dairyman in upstate South Carolina, have installed a Vend-a-Moo. That's right, the Vend-a-Moo. It dispenses jugs of milk 24 hours, 7 days a week to the willing consumer who makes the trip to the countryside to feed the machine.
You can literally have milk that was in a cow this morning on your table tonight.
Here's a play-by-play of how the Vend-a-Moo works.
We do whole 2% and skim. We also do chocolate pints. And this is here 24 hours a day. They can sit right in their car and take it. It's really amazed us at the following it's gotten. If you're here on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday when church is getting out, they line right up out the driveway. It's very, very well taken. People are here all different hours of the day and night. I think the convenience has had something to do with it, but we do know that people drive past the grocery stores to come out here and get it. So
how about that?
It's really been a good thing for us.
That's awesome. It takes a cooler, obviously, behind it.
Yes, it is a full cooler, and there's actually milk that's in back stock back there, and we put it on daily on the lanes, and they make their selection and push the button, and when it rolls down, it moves at them.
Now, most dairies that I know of don't have the means to jug it on site.
That was a large investment, something that we decided to go ahead and do. It's been, it was definitely something we had to think hard about before we did it.
There's nothing fresher, nothing finer than locally grown fruits and vegetables. They're tastier, sweeter, healthier, and most of us would agree they're better. That's why your South Carolina Department of Agriculture is working to make certified South Carolina grown produce and products available in stores in your neighborhood. Ask for South Carolina. Nothing's fresher, nothing's finer.
We're back now in the kitchen with Walter P. Rawl & Sons Farms and Donna Bundrick Griffin, our great friend in the kitchen. Thanks for being with us again today.
Reggie, it's always such an honor to work with you.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Walter P. Rawl & Sons, one of the largest fresh vegetable producers on the East Coast, everywhere east of the Mississippi, up and down the East Coast, and great products. I just love what you've done here with your versatile veggies. You've already taken all the work out of it.
That's right. This company, the owners are very forward-thinking, and this is something they wanted to feature for the consumer, so people could have very, very nutritious meals. We have our versatile veggies. Not only do we have the diced tomatoes like Reggie is holding up, we have pico de gallo, we have sliced squash, we have diced onions, both the yellow, the purple, and the green. Wow. We have sliced zucchini, a sliced squash medley. We have a fajita mix. We have a pepper medley. So anytime you're in your grocery store and don't see these products, ask for them. We are featuring a wonderful kale salad today, and we're using one of our 1-pound bags of kale. Okay. Not only do we have the kale, which is already washed and cut. We have the collard greens, the mustard greens, as well as the turnip greens.
You've taken all the work out of it
We
for us,
have.
so there's no reason not to cook healthy anymore.
But we're using one pound container of the kale, Reggie. Okay. I'm just going to slip this over here. And now we're going to put in the diced onions. Okay. And this is a 1 clamshell container. I'm glad this little piece of paper fell with it, because that's a little piece of paper we have in the bottom of each container, so it will actually outlive the pull date. Okay. It helps to absorb that moisture.
Keeps it fresh.
Exactly.
Right.
We're going to put in 1/2 of our purple onions, our Versatile Veggies purple onions.
So tomatoes first and then onions.
Right. A cup of sliced fresh mushrooms. And then we're putting in a 1/2 cup of golden raisins. Great. Now we will toss all of these ingredients together. Now the real good thing is the dressing. This is a wonderful dressing, Reggie. We're using 1 tablespoon of cooking sherry, 1 teaspoon of dry mustard, and then we're going to whisk in about a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise.
I guess you could use low-fat mayonnaise.
You
if
could,
you were
and you know, with the
that kind of
other ingredients, I don't think you would get. A lot of people tell me they don't like it because they think it has a different flavor. Now I love it, but I don't think with the other ingredients you would get.
That's right. It would
an
hide
off
that
flavor.
Right.
That's right. And we're putting in a 1/4 cup of sour cream, and here again you could use the fat-free if you wanted. Stirring these ingredients together. We're putting in a 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and an 1/8 teaspoon of pepper. Wow. Now, what I recommend doing is make the salad the day before. And the morning that you plan to serve the salad, toss it with the dressing. Last but not least, right before you serve it, you would want to toss it with, I'm using one of the 4.3 ounce containers of the crumbled bacon. They're in the little pouches in the salad section of the grocery store. As you can see, it makes a very large salad. I would say it serves 8 people very generously.
And that's only with the 1 pound bag of the kale that's
already
chopped, already washed, already ready to go.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of all these products. They're consumer friendly.
That's great. All right, well, super. As are all the products from Walter P. Rawlins Sons Farms here in South Carolina. An easy recipe, the kale recipe with all these delicious summer ingredients in it, just right for you. Again, if they're not in your grocery store, ask your grocer for the Walter P. Rawlins Sons versatile veggies and packaged greens that they've already provided for you. We'll be back in a moment.
There's nothing fresher, nothing finer than locally grown fruits and vegetables. They're tastier, sweeter, healthier, and most of us would agree they're better. That's why your South Carolina Department of Agriculture is working to make certified South Carolina grown produce and products available in stores in your neighborhood. Ask for South Carolina. Nothing's fresher, nothing's finer.
Syrup is an essential food item here on the farm. We use it as a natural sweetener. Sugarcane and sweet sorghum are grown to provide sweet juice used to make syrup. The cane stalks are squeezed to glean the juice. The juice is then placed in a large heated pot until its water content is reduced and the liquid concentrates the sugar content. Impurities are skimmed off during the cooking process to enhance the quality of the syrup. It takes about 2 hours to cook off the juice. The cooked cane juice yields only about a gallon of syrup from 10 gallons of juice. Quilts are essential on the farm, in the farmhouse on cold winter nights. Blankets are expensive, and money is hard to come by. Quilts are made from scrap cloth with a great deal of craftsmanship and labor. Rural communities have quilting gatherings or parties where the farm wives gather and pool their efforts to sew together various pieces of cloth. Feed and fertilizer sacks are also used as material for precious quilts. Farm ladies often accompany their husbands to the feed store so they can pick out the feed sack print designs that best suit their fancy for quilt making. Good quilts take days of patient work and skill. Well-made quilts will surely become family heirlooms and collector's items. The blacksmith shop is vital on the farm. It's like a machine shop where tools are made and repaired, and the transportation needs of the farm are supported. Many farms have their own shop and blackie, another name for a blacksmith. A hot fire is essential for blacksmithing. A bellows inhales air and forces it out on the coals to increase the heat of the fire in the forge. The blacksmith makes a number of different items out of metal for the farm and farm home. Everything from hinges to horseshoes are crafted. The blacksmith occasionally enlists the help of other men on the farm to help with large projects like preparing a metal rim for a wooden wagon or buggy wheel. The rim is heated in the hot fire, which causes it to expand so it can fit over the wooden wheel. As the rim cools, it shrinks, which keeps it tight on the wheel. Wagon wheels are mostly made from oak or hickory wood, so they'll be strong and tough enough to survive our rough dirt roads and paths. Speaking of wheels, it's time for us to head back to the 21st century. We hope you've enjoyed this tour of the past down on the farm. It's easy to see how much machines have helped farmers become more efficient as they produce food and fiber for the rest of the world. If you would like to see these machines in action, we invite you to come to the annual Richland Creek Antique Tractor and Engine Show in Saluda County. The discussion of water rights isn't unique to South Carolina. Farmers are facing that from coast to coast. It's a precious commodity, one that farmers need to sustain their livestock and to sustain their crops. But it also provides wonderful scenery for those who visit South Carolina and other states rich in water resources. Let's take a moment now to look at this palmetto portrait of water in South Carolina. That brings to a close this edition of Voices of Agriculture, South Carolina Farm Bureau's edition. You still have a couple of weeks to celebrate June Dairy Month. Go to a local dairy or support them by buying local dairy commodities. Also, let me challenge you to conserve our precious water resources wherever you might live in the United States. If you want information on any of these stories or more that we've talked about this half hour, log on to www.scfb.org. I'm your host, Reggie Hall.